Welcome to Sinister Heroes. I'm your host, Danny Iniquitous. Thank you for tuning in. Today's episode isn't really a class guide, it's more so a concept guide about one of my personal favorite classes, which is the Druid. I know, not normally what you would expect, but this is one of the things we wanted to talk to you about. So please like, share, subscribe, get in depth, contact us, communicate with us. It's very important to us. We want to hear feedback. We want to know how to grow and how to do what's best so that way we can keep you happy and we can keep doing this. So without further ado, let's talk about some druids. So right off the bat, one of the things I want to talk to you about druids is a concept that I always have an issue with. Now, as a Sinister Hero, and I've mentioned this in my previous video about College of Whispers Bards, I don't like healing. I know, I get it, it's terrible. How do you pick a class that can heal and don't take one? I'll, from time to time, pick a healing spell just to help the party. I will. It's not my favorite thing. I don't get it. It's just not within my nature. I don't like playing support casters or anything because it's not who I am. I do, however, like to piss off my friends and play support casters and not ever play them as supports. And this is it's just a thing. I think there's so much ability in some of these classes, and you get so shackled to doing these things that you don't, I mean, at least for me, you don't really want to do. And you feel guilty just doing things for yourself, but you got to learn to make your character who you want to be. It's a struggle. It's kind of something you face every moment in life to make yourself who you want to be, to do these things that you want to be, and do all because that's who you are. And sometimes it's a fight, and sometimes it seems like the world's against you. Druids have that same problem, at least for me. Yeah, they're incredible healers. They have very, very strong magic that can heal, great things that they can do. But what I like them most for is their control, because I love conditions. I think they're valuable. I think they change the world when you use them. Use them. And they can do magic damage in a very phenomenal way, and their spells are cool. Their spells are specifically themed to them, and there's plenty of druid spells that nobody else gets access to that very rarely will you ever see in game, and it's cool to see new things. It's great, but you get pigeonholed into being just this backup healer. Like, everyone wants you to be the MMO healer who just stands there and just throws healing spells all day and maybe disable to the enemy, maybe, and just buff everyone else the whole time. Boring. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. So I don't ever play them that way. Just wanted to say that right off the bat before we get into some of the things I wanted to talk to you about druids. And specifically, this is a little bit more towards DMs and dungeon masters, how maybe you could use this. And it's a cool concept and very few people use, and it can be great. So here we go. Before we get into what I wanted to talk to DMs about, I just wanted to talk to you about the Circle of Spores Druid. I love it. I think it's awesome. It's my favorite druid to play. It's just so cool, the concept of becoming this like spore like induced being that just almost turns into a monster. Like, it's very cool. The fact that you can reanimate like the dead, kind of, it's awesome. You get a lot of cool abilities. You get to do a lot of necrotic damage. Like, it changes so much what the druid is, and it becomes this swamp entity of darkness that just rolls into the world, and it shares this duality of basically feeding on something and recycling life into a new world. And it's cool. I love it. The lore behind it's awesome. I've played one. It was fantastic. It makes me itch to play that character again. Specifically that character, because I loved him so much. There's a lot of cool things you can do with it. And one of the important things is that you can use this specific kind of druid or any of the other kinds of druids as enemies. Like, you can use them as the big bads in any kind of campaign. You just make a world where, like, the society has been encroaching and the druids have had enough of it. And so we get one of each circle and they're all fighting together. That's a cool fight. And what's most important about that is you don't fight the same bad guys all the time. You're not running through droves and droves of goblins and then droves and droves of zombies and you're just fighting the same old monsters. It's cool when you have to make them fight nature. You can make them fight beasts, which you never see used. You never see anyone fighting like a horde of crocodiles or tigers and wolves and packs. You never see that. But early on in the game, that's cool. That's something that's scary. That gives you this understanding that like nature is dangerous, and it's a concept, especially in that medieval might and magic kind of a world. The woods were dangerous. You didn't go into the woods because you might not come back, and that was a theme that was inherent in all of literature and like real human history, that the woods and nature can be very, very dangerous. So you had to be very careful when you ventured into them. And it's like Lost almost in Dungeons and Dragons now, because we fight cookie cutter monsters a lot of the times. And yeah, I get it, goblins are cool, undead is awesome, I happen to love them, but it's very cool when you switch it up, especially when you can change the bad guys. And then you can set it up as maybe they're just a mid-boss or something to incorporate into something greater, but it gives your world scale. And you do this because you understand that what you're fighting isn't necessarily evil, but it's something that's fighting for survival. And you do that, and you make your villains relatable. You know, you make it harder to hate them, and you understand the sacrifices, because if you get someone that can speak with beasts and you capture a wolf and like it tells you like it's fighting for its homeland against you, who is the real enemy? And you can leave a wide open area where you can bridge into this other whole world, and you can do this wonderful thing where it's like, do I reject the society that maybe I hated in the beginning, or do I kind of try and find peace in the middle? Or do I just try and help the bad guy? You know, like you can, it's very easy to do something like that, and you can create this wonderful world, and people just don't ever use this whole creature type. You know, you don't use beasts, and you can have them interact with you through beast shape. You can have just a hawk fly into where the party is, and have it emerge as the druid, and have him just speak to the party, and try and sway them. You can use these as like not just cookie cutter good guys, you know, like there's so much greatness that can be done by just breaking the molds of what you've seen and trying to get out there and making good things evil. And that's kind of what's really cool about the druid, because you can take this direction with them where you're not just fighting for good, where you're actually fighting for balance. And that's where you get this ability to cull humanity. You know, like you get this cool concept, and it can be wasted, and I feel like a lot of it's missing. And I really hope Dungeons and Dragons really comes out with a book that just like really kind of gives you that kind of a scenario where there's just a lot of dark beasts and everything, or dark druids that are trying to fight back or changing the way the world is and the scope, because it influences a lot, and it's a very, very, you know, it's cool, it's different, it's something new to try, it's something like a stepping stone that can work into something bigger if that's what you want to do, because it's a great lead into like the Fae or anything like that. So that was just my thing for DMs. I know this is not really a classic guide or anything like that, and it's kind of coming out to be just a please DMs do this kind of a guide, but I just want to talk about wild shape as a form and ability, and since it's so inherent into what the druid can do in all aspects, it gives you great utility because you can fly later on. Once you reach a high enough level, you can shrink down and you can spy, you can keep pace with the rogue, so that way if the rogue goes in and he's not alone, you can help him. You can make sure he gets out alive and he's not just so desperately trying to do something. You know, it's a great way to overlook your party. It has this great big brother feel to it because you use it in such a great way to help other people, and you can do cool things with it. I have an issue with that because I tend to play very close to the rulebook. Very, very, very close to the rulebook and to the lore. So when you have to see these animals in order to be able to turn into them, it's hard to rationalize, oh, I can just do that. And it doesn't feel like I've earned it. And I like feeling like I've earned things. I like going through horrible, tenuous stuff that makes me annoyed and angry because it pays off and I get one thing. I know, and games aren't built around me, but if you do have characters that are druids and they want to be able to do these things, give them this opportunity, or give a downtime, or maybe you just need a break to do something a little light and easier, so you just want to give a cool Pokemon type adventure. You know, like you want to just go out and you want to explore and find these animals. That's cool. That gives you an opportunity to build some things with your characters. Let them do RP moments while it's happening. Build this good team resolve together, and let the druid have a moment. You know, like because of the class is so in tune to nature, a lot of the worlds we live in, they don't get that specific moment to shine, because of who they are, because nobody uses Druidic, nobody puts that down on walls and forests and gives markings to other people, because it's one of those other things that's just, it fell on deaf ears for some reason. But if you want to make a cool nature thing where you can make it dark and you can make it evil, you could make werewolves and animals like just constant, and do it as a curse brought on from druids, to turn people into beasts in order to make them understand nature or something like that. Like, you can use Druidic as this very cool thing to send these messages to other players, to other druids, and make them feel like their character class really matters. Because if not, they're just some nature wizard, and it's not inherent. So incorporating these things is very, very, very cool. You can do a lot of things, especially since it works well if you have rangers in the party as well. Especially if you have a beastmaster, they just go hand in hand. They work well together. There's a certain synergy with them, just normally between their classes anyway. But it gives you this opportunity that they can go out and they can get those beasts, or they can go out and learn and study from them and become them and be able to do so. It's cool that the higher levels you get, you can do cool things. But if you're on a ship for the first time and you just happen to turn into a shark, where did you ever see a shark before? It's not like you have the internet. It's just, it doesn't feel as rewarding as being on a ship and then seeing sharks swarming around, and you taking the time to study them, or maybe you turn into a bird and fly over and get close to them, or maybe you have an underwater adventure or a seafaring adventure where doing this is a cool thing. It gives your druid that opportunity. It gives them a way to feel special, the way to feel like their class choice really, really matter. It's not like they're a cleric or a paladin where they have these divine powers to them, which can just be influenced just telepathically or through a vision, or like a warlock where their patron comes through a fire and gives them a message or requires them to do something. It's not, or like a thief gets a letter from a thief guild, or notices thieves' cant somewhere and understands that they are responsible for taking care of something, or a fighter being part of an organization that's just looking for them and need them to do something. You don't get that with the druid. You just get nature, and it just exists, and you kind of just lose that. So it's really, really, really cool to actually make that class matter. Throw a message in Druidic around somewhere. Let them see it. Let them feel like, oh wow, I'm not, I'm cool. I this is something for me. It's an interesting thing. People don't use animals enough. It's a great concept. It's so explored in the content that's been available to us, but it seems like it's a wasted opportunity. And I'm kind of just begging you to incorporate some of these things and really push it in, because if you have character classes like this, the best games I've ever played in were the ones where the DMs included the backstories of the characters that we've played into the story, and included their class as part of that. And it makes it this unique experience. You can run Lost Mines of Phandelver 1,000,000 times. It's 100 times cooler when the backstories of all the players is involved in the story. You can do it. You can put it into anything. It's very cool, and it gives your players this everyone thinks their character is this incredible, awesome entity, but when the story reflects that, even if it's for a brief moment, you carry that. You feel great. It hooks you. It makes your character, and you're so bound to the story, and it makes you such a great DM just for including it. You're just no matter what it is, it becomes not just, oh, this is a cool thing we do every week. It's just I cannot wait till we get into this next week, and I cannot wait for my turn, and I cannot wait to see how everyone else is. It becomes this awesome gaming experience, and I cannot stress that enough. And let your characters dictate how much they want to be involved in the story. You're gonna get characters that have backstories stacked up like this, and you're gonna get characters that are just yeah, I'm just here, I like to play through the game, and I don't really like to invest in who I was before. I like to become something, and that's cool. And you incorporate all of that, and you get these cool moments, and characters grow, and you see who they are. It's a very cool thing to see your friends and your DM take on this persona and watch that persona become something, or you see the full scope of who they are. That's really cool. That's awesome. It's a great thing. If you're heavy into RP, this is the kind of stuff that you live for. This is what you like. This is your wheelhouse. I encourage it. I can't stress it enough. Really try and do these things. I know it's out of the box. I know it's weird. I know it's something not a lot of people have done, but It's out there. It's cool. It's a concept. You can steal it from like the Roanoke story where a whole village just vanished out of nowhere and all that was left was just the word Roanoke. You can make that just Druidic. And then now that you found that out, you can find an answer. You know, and that could be a whole huge quest line that leads you into something else, or that could be a whole campaign. It's so easy if you just really willingly open up to breaking the rules that you've lived by beforehand and using good things as bad enemies. You know, like it's a strange concept. I know I'm probably gonna get a lot of heat for it, but you can do this. It's cool. You can get into it. You just have to be willing to actually try something new, and trying something new in D&D is what makes D&D so great. I mean, how many games have you played where you saw a pit and you're just like, you know what? Maybe I'm gonna jump into it, and how different that changed the whole scope of everything. And it was just like this crazy moment, and it was fun. You know, like you got to be willing to kind of break out of your comfort zone from sometimes, and you got to be willing to try new things. And DMs are so creative. You do so much already. I hate to throw a whole bunch of stuff in your way, but I'm gonna do it because I like it and I want it. So here you go. Suck it up. So again, just please give these druids an opportunity to have their moment. You know, like let them go into the woods. Let that be important. Take them out of the cave for the millionth time and just put them in the forest at night. You know, you can introduce furbolgs just to exist, that they just don't want you in an area, so you gotta plead with them and bargain with them just to go in and deal with a problem that they're having trouble dealing with. You have a whole bunch of characters that you could never use that are just chomping at the bit to be there. People like seeing something new. People like exploring a new race and a new culture, and you can do that by incorporating these things. You can meet a plethora of different animals and stuff like that, and different species that already exist. You just move them coincidentally out of one area and put them in the forest, put them in the swamp area, put them in an area where it's just like a deep underwater area that brings you into this place that has like this incredible shrine built to a deity that's just somehow influential, or maybe it's a patron to one of your other characters, and link them together. These concepts are doable. They're not very hard. I kind of just suck and I make them up mostly on the spot, but it's, if you have a story that you want to tell and you have characters that want to play a part in that story, let them in. You know, like it's so cool. And I'm sorry, I know I totally rambled on really hard about this, but it's passion. So finally, I just want to thank you all for watching. Please give us a like, share, subscribe. It's so great to see you guys coming back and watching our videos. It makes a huge impact for us. Thank you, and thank you for giving a Spooky Kid a chance.